The YTPC, Joshua Stewart, Pipe Up North. Once again, we've got our codger and a corn cob. And Tobacco Tin Tuesday. Let's start out right away. Corn cob is Missouri Meerschaum Legend. This is one that I've got dedicated to codger blends. And in it, I've got Prince Albert in a can. And I only intend to let them out a little bit at a time. So yeah, I broke down and I got a big can of Prince Albert. Gonna take me a while to get through it, but I'm sure I will eventually. I think I mentioned a while back our local brick and mortar tobacco shop. They've got, mostly cigarette and vape related stuff, and a little corner of cigar stuff, and a little corner of a shelf of pipe tobaccos. And I was there probably well over a month ago now. I don't even remember why I stopped in there, but I was looking for some Granger, which they didn't have. But they did have some Carter Hall and Prince Albert. So as long as I was there, I just asked them, because they didn't have any prices on the shelf, because whatever. So I just asked them how much it was, and they were cheaper than you can get them online, unless you can catch a really good sale. So bought the can of Carter Hall at that time. A few days ago, I went in and got a can of Prince Albert too while I was at it, so I could have them both on hand. And when you can get it, even if the brick and mortar doesn't really cater to pipe guys, if you can support the local, and especially if they're cheaper than online, it's a no-brainer. So I went in there, like I say, the other day to get the Prince Albert, and I got some lighter flints and I don't know, something else I was in there, which there again, the lighter flints are about the same price as you can get them for online, so might as well buy them there. So anyway, this is basically my first pipe ever of fresh Prince Albert. Now, I've had one or two samples shared with me before that, you don't know how old they were or how dried out they were or anything, which I was fairly impressed when I tried them and wanted to get a pouch, which of course they haven't made the pouches in several years. And I'm having a hard time keeping it lit now that I'm talking a little bit. Yeah, you're being annoying, kitty. You can sit on my lap, but so at first impressions, I was expecting, very, very similar to Carter Hall. I cracked the tin and took a whiff, and it's like, this is definitely not Carter Hall. heard many people talk about the cocoa notes. I definitely picked up that right away, even as bad as I am at picking out notes, flavors, whatever. And I know for the first 5 minutes I'm into this bowl, it's not bad. But maybe it's just that I'm used to it, but I think I prefer Carter Hall. Although maybe if I smoke this several times a week like I have been Carter Hall, maybe I would like this more too. But anyway, that local brick and mortar, they don't sell too much pipe tobacco, I don't think. And I was gonna show, but then I got thinking when I looked at it, it probably wouldn't show up on camera very good. That there was a pretty thick layer of dust on top of the outer wrapper. So that can had been on the shelf for a while. So there's a manufacturing code there. I don't know if anybody knows how to read that, and let me know if this is 3 months old or 3 years old, or I would be curious. Let me, just in case it didn't show up, let me read it. Got X 239X 1010848. So I wonder if the X239 is 2023. I don't know. What does the Carter Hall have on it? X304X 3011127. So that 2-3 at the beginning of that code probably doesn't mean the year, because I would think, being they're both Middleton blends, that they would use the same code or the same pattern or whatever for their code. So got the corn cob, got the codger. Now it's time for the tobacco tin. Now, just a refresher, I've had a lot of new subscribers in recent weeks, but I've been doing a tobacco tin Tuesday on Tuesdays for the past few months. Because as my parents, when they moved off the big house on the farm to the not as big house in town, they just don't have room for everything. And my mother collected tobacco tins since I was a little kid, maybe even before. So she gave me her collection of tobacco tins. It's not a monstrously huge collection, but there are several dozen. And I've been putting them on my shelf back there with my paint cans as I show them off to the world, I guess. So this week, again, I cracked open a tin of Prince Albert. Figured we'd show off an old Prince Albert tin. I don't know what, I didn't notice anything on it that said a size. I'm guessing like a 7 or 8 ounce, maybe 12 ounce. Did a little bit of research trying to figure out how old this is, and I couldn't find too much. I'm guessing pre-World War II, but I can't prove that. Did find some stuff that this was referred to as a dome tin, because it's got a dome on the top of the tin. This one is not full, but nice and shiny inside. Overall, the tin is pretty good shape, better than a lot of them that I've seen on eBay and stuff. And one thing that's interesting that I don't know if the camera will pick up, this is not perfectly round. There's actually just a bunch of about 1/2 inch wide flats that make up the round, which I thought was interesting. Mittens, are you getting your claws caught in my shirt again? So yeah, some of the earliest ones did not say crimp cut, I know that much. So this is, and they didn't make it or start making it until, it says patented in 1907, so I don't know if that's when the first ones were made, but up until the early teens they were kind of a little bit easier to distinguish. But so this tin could be 100 years old, it could be 80 years old. So could be 110 years old. I don't know. Somewhere in there. But overall pretty decent shape. Got the, I don't know what you would call that pattern. It's got the same pattern on the bottom and the top with the kind of a red with a gold background. Does not bite the tongue. At least it didn't 100 years ago. I guess this fresh stuff doesn't seem to be giving me any bite either, so. Now, I'd asked about the Grain Belt beer in the last video a little bit. Appreciate everybody who commented on that. And kind of just figure out how far the distribution goes on it. A lot of people outside of the Midwest didn't seem to have really heard of it though, so it must just kind of be a Midwest regional beer. But it seems like everybody's heard of Hamm's, which, interesting story with the Hamm's. They had the advertising campaign, I think it was in the 70s. They had the tagline, or whatever you call it, land of sky blue waters. And of course they had the cartoon bear. It was kind of their mascot. But then in the 70s, they actually did some like live action, the guy up in the woods. And just kind of enjoying nature. I don't remember if there was any bears or anything in those commercials. Seems to me that there was, but I don't remember for sure. I might be confusing it in my mind with Grizzly Adams because I remember watching Grizzly Adams a lot as a kid. But anyway, a couple of years ago, we did a family vacation up in the Boundary Waters canoe area of Minnesota. Now, we didn't go actually into the Boundary Waters, but we were like right on the edge because my wife generally likes to have comforts of home. So we rented a cabin right on the edge of the Boundary Waters for a few days and rented canoes just for some couple hours trips, I guess, in to the Boundary Waters, but we didn't actually go too far in. And just checked out some of the sites in the area. And one of the things they had, there was a museum up there. Now this is on the east side of the Boundary Waters from Grand Marais. Took the Gunflint Trail up basically all the way as far as it would go, which was like 50 or 60 miles from Grand Marais. And up towards the end, there was a museum that used to be a resort back in the day. And then, of course, when they designated the Boundary Waters a wilderness area, the federal government was buying up all the little resorts and stuff that were up in the area. With the intent on turning it back into wilderness. And so right on the edge was this one resort that they turned into a museum, and they had a section in the museum about the Hams advertising campaign that was actually filmed in what is now the Boundary Waters. I don't remember too much of the details. I think at one time they had the guy that was the actor that visited there, and or you know, just a bunch of memorabilia about the advertising campaign that took place there. But of course, once it became a wilderness area, they weren't allowed to bring all their motorized equipment and stuff out into the wilderness to do their filming. And so I thought that was interesting. I've never really been a Hams drinker. I've only had it a couple of times. To my palate, it wasn't that great. It was just another cheap beer. But in fact, I'm not a huge beer drinker in the first place. I mean, I buy a 12 pack or two a year is about it. So me drinking that grain belt on camera, that's uncommon for me to be drinking a beer. And probably most of the beer I drink is when I'm on our annual camping vacation with my wife's family, because my father-in-law, he likes his grain belt, so he's always got some there for me to drink. And so I've got to bring some too, just so I'm not mooching off of him all the time. But so first impressions of Prince Albert in a can. Fresh Prince Albert in a can. You know, it's not bad, not great. I'll admit I was more impressed with the Carter Hall. But you know, I might try to have, rather than the Carter Hall having a bowl every day, I might try a bowl of this every day and just see if it grows on me. There's something else I wanted to run past everybody here too, but couldn't have been that important if I don't remember it. Usually if it's important I write it down, but I don't write down very much because there's not much that's that important. Oh, I remember what it was. On Sunday, did a quick run up north to the property. Just took care of a few chores that needed to get taken care of, like needed to winterize the shower because there was going to be some pretty cold temperatures that if I didn't have it winterized, it could freeze and damage some of the stuff in the water heater or the water pump. Or because I've just got an on-demand water heater for the shower, propane. And we just carry in our water in like 5-gallon jugs, and got a little 12-volt pump that pumps it out and into the shower. It's not as convenient at home, but when you don't have any other options, it's pretty nice to take a hot shower. So anyway, after we were done with our chores up there, went and visited the neighbor across the road. He likes his beer. He's always got some beer on hand. He likes his bourbon too, and so he picked up some new bourbon that he wanted to share with me and kind of get what I thought about it. I don't remember what it was called, but it was something that came from I think his daughter got it for him at some little micro distillery someplace. So it was, whatever it was pretty good. And goes to the fridge and pulls out beer, and what's he got? He's got grain belt. He's the kind of guy that when I first met him a couple of years ago, I was gonna bring some beer by, and it's like, what kind do you like? He says, whatever's cheapest. So he wasn't too fussy, but now he keeps some grain belt on hand for whenever I stop by. And maybe he drinks it all himself too, but maybe I made another believer. So I remember that was the other thing that I wanted to share. I thought that was kind of funny. And on a sad note, that they ended up having to put their dog down. So we got to see their dog before they put her down this morning. She was 16 years old, chocolate lab. Nice, friendly dog, which most labs are. But yeah, when I saw her yesterday, it's like, yeah, I can see where it's time, because she couldn't hardly stand up anymore, and she struggled when she was laying down to get back up, and mostly blind and couldn't hardly walk, and of course had accidents every now and then in the house. And so yeah, I mean, he's a manly man, but he was not ashamed to admit that he was expecting to shed a tear. So, but you have a dog like that for 16 years, it's been a good dog for you. It's got to be tough. So, anyway, so with that, kind of a downer to finish it up, but they had 16 good years with the dog, so that's happy. But anyway, we're running plenty long again, so I'll let you go. This is Joshua Stewart, Pipe Up North. Have a good day.